Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is from the CBN. I am Williamisi Dada. The rhetoric around neglect of previous years will remain a part of our history, and the best time to correct those mistakes is now. And every stakeholder must contribute their quota to guarantee the realization of self-sufficiency in food production. Those were the words of the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, at the 5th year anniversary of the Anchor Borers program and the flag-off of the 2020 wet season harvest aggregation in Zaro, Burning Kebbi on Tuesday. We'll bring you a report on that event as well as the CBN Vanguard Newspapers special summit on ways out of economic recession, plus our interview with an economic expert. All that and more after the news highlights from the Central Bank of Nigeria this week. The Central Bank of Nigeria has made good its promise by facilitating the release of 50,000 metric tons of maize into the market to reduce the price of the commodity. The maize, which was released in the second week of February through the Anchor Borers program, has brought down the price of the commodity from 200,000 naira per metric ton to about 180,000 naira per metric ton, and the price is expected to reduce further. Major beneficiaries of the maize release are Premier Flour Mills, Crown Olam, Grand Cereals, Animal Care, Amobeam and Hybrid Feeds, Zartec, Walcott, Said Farms, Panda Green Novum and Premium Farms. Others are the Southwest, South-South, Northwest and North Central chapters of the Poultry Association of Nigeria. The shortfall in maize availability has been attributed to the activities of bandits, drought, hoarders and middlemen, as well as insecurity around the major maize-producing belts of Niger, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and parts of Kano states. The Central Bank of Nigeria has extended for another 1 year the reduction of interest rates on its intervention facilities from 9% to 5% per annum as part of measures to further mitigate the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. This followed the expiration of the initial 1-year discounted interest rate for CBN intervention facilities on February 28th. In a circular to all banks and other financial institutions midweek by the Director, CBN Financial Policy and Regulations Department, Dr. Kevin Amugo, the new approval is until next year February ending, and the rollover of the moratorium on the facilities shall be considered on a case-by-case basis. CBN Governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele was on an inspection tour of the Dangote Refinery, Petrochemicals Complex, Fertilizer Plant and Subsea Gas Pipeline Project at Ibeju-Lekki in Lagos over the weekend. Mr. Emefiele expressed optimism that by refining crude oil at the facility, all costs associated with freight and demurrage from import would be totally eliminated, making the price of petroleum products cheaper in Naira and possibly opening up the opportunity for the products to also be sold to member states in the ECOWAS community in Naira, thus giving a boost to the currency. This is based on agreements and discussions the governor said had been held with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and the oil companies that the Dangote refinery could buy its crude in Naira, refine and produce same for Nigerians' use in Naira. It said the refinery, when completed in the first quarter of next year, would put an end to the issue of petroleum subsidy, pointing out that the CBN had given 100 billion naira intervention to the project and would readily support any indigenous businesses capable of benefiting the country's economy. And that's the news. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, said the Anchor Borers program, ABP, has emphasized the need for all stakeholders to sustain current efforts championed by the bank to galvanize agricultural production towards meeting the requirements of Nigeria's growing population. He noted that the ABP, which is an essential part of President Muhammadu Buhari's drive for economic diversification, had improved the fortunes of rural farmers, transforming agriculture into a potential economic growth vehicle. We have details in this report. It is the flag-off of the 2020 wet season harvest aggregation and dry season input distribution under the CBN Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria's Anchor Borers program in Zoro, Kebbi State. It is also to mark the 5th anniversary of the Anchor Borrowers Program, an initiative which the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, says had been characterized with huge successes, learning points, and challenges.
As an essential part of President Muhammadu Buhari's drive for economic diversification, the Anchor Borrowers Program has catalyzed Nigeria's rural economy and has transformed the perception of agriculture as a tool for economic empowerment to a sustainable income generating activity for our rural dwellers with significant potential for growth. From inception till date, we have financed 2,923,937 smallholder farmers, cultivating 3,647,643 hectares of land across 21 commodities through over 23 participating financial institutions in the entire 30 states of the Federation, including the FCT. Our experience over the last 5 years has led to significant improvement in the execution of this program. We have added several layers of control to improve on transparency and accountability amongst all stakeholders. And what you are witnessing today is a demonstration of the growth that has been attained in the country's agricultural space. It is important to note that we are still a far cry from attaining perfection, but the emerging results from the program reaffirms our belief in the potential inherent in our agricultural sector. And we are constantly engaging farmers to enhance their trust in this system by rewarding farmers with good repayment records, while facilitating an effective market linkage with millers for the uptake of their output. In support of the growth recorded in this drive to attain self-sufficiency in food production and to moderate prices of agricultural commodities, Mr. President has approved the resuscitation of Nigeria's commodity exchange, and the CBN, in partnership with other stakeholders, will be committing at least 50 billion naira to this initiative.
The host governor, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, commends the CBN governor and his team for the novel initiatives, which he says have strengthened food security and enhanced the economic diversification drive.
Today, as part of its loan repayment program scheme, the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria is displaying the riches and the successes and the gains of the last 5 years by this massive array of pyramids which could hardly have ever been witnessed before in the country.
Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State, who is also the chairman, Nigeria Governors Forum, commends the Apex Bank for thinking outside the orthodox paradigm of growing the country's gross domestic product.
Today, the dominant news in our country is security. Everywhere you turn, what you hear is the need for better security. But what these pyramids have shown us is that the greatest form of security is human security. And the best way to express human security is via food security, because that is when you can limit the desperation in the minds of our people and reduce the thirst for violence in our country. And what is being demonstrated here and across the length and breadth of Nigeria since the Anchor Borrowers program started is the capacity of our people to produce what we will eat and to eat what we produce.
Speaking on behalf of the farmers, President of the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Alhaji Aminu Goronyo, thanks President Muhammadu Buhari for the vision that Nigeria must be self-sufficient in food production.
After here, we have Ikiti. Another pyramid is coming up. It's going to be celebrated in Ikiti. God willing, in the next few days. And after here, we also have Gombe, where we have the same pyramid. We have done it in Niger State. We are going to do it in several states of this country.
Last Friday, a special summit on ways to bring about an enduring national growth held in Lagos and was attended by top government authorities and key players in the Nigerian financial system. A prominent feature of the forum was the plenary and syndicate sessions by bank chiefs on specific areas of the economy that will stimulate growth. We have the report here.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, Chief Executive of Banks and other financial experts in conjunction with Vanguard Newspaper put together this event. The one-day special summit on how to overcome the pitfalls of the recession and engender an enduring national growth path.
It's a one-day special summit.
The objective of this forum includes stimulation of collaborative ideas on how to prevent another economic recession in the country, deepening of discussion and elevating thought leadership on issues of the economy, proactively examining economic challenges and preferring solutions on how best to hedge against them. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, who joins the event virtually, while giving his keynote address, says, moving beyond the pandemic-induced crisis, the first step in achieving sustained growth is to focus on productivity and value addition in every sector of the economy. He reveals the federal government is discussing the prospect of zero taxes for machinery, generally to make Nigeria a value-adding economy, especially in areas of comparative advantage.
Manufacturing, especially light manufacturing, is also key. We can be the factory for the continent. We must, of course, encourage investments in information and communication technologies, the creative industry, tourism, amongst others. In sum, government policy should be geared, and this is the thinking generally, to making Nigeria a value-adding economy. We simply must encourage value addition in every aspect, in every sector of our economy. For example, in agriculture, our focus must be on processing of raw produce. Adding value, of course, means more jobs, and the value chain makes more money. Same with mining, more beneficiation. And I take this opportunity to commend first the Central Bank of Nigeria for the forward-looking support for growth-related initiatives, especially under the Economic Sustainability Plan. The banks also for their patriotic contribution to sustaining growth in the country by creatively accommodating their clients, especially those that face difficulty at the height of the pandemic.
CBN Governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele announces that following the bank's new policy on remittance inflow, diaspora remittance has increased by 500% to $30 million from $5 million. He says to further enhance and sustain this nation's economic recovery, there is need for broad action in 4 policy areas, including protection of the local economy from activities of smugglers.
In order to drive and sustain this recovery, therefore, we need to engage in the following broad actions. 1, sustain the accommodative fiscal and monetary policy measures aimed at improving access to finance to households and businesses. 2, prevent a resurgence in COVID-19 related cases. 3, ensure that a significant number of our population is properly vaccinated. 4, improve foreign exchange inflows into our country. Let me briefly explain some of these points. On accommodating monetary policy, in 2021, it is imperative that the CBN continue to provide accommodative monetary policy measures that will enable faster recovery of the economy through improved flow of credit to households and businesses, but in this case, particularly our small businesses that badly need access to credit. In key sectors of our economy, such as agriculture, ICT, manufacturing. These measures are essential if we are to return our economy to a sustainable growth path while reducing our exposure to volatility in the commodity prices. While accommodative monetary policy measures that will support growth and remain paramount in our priorities in 2021, we will continue to pay attention to trends in inflation as price stability remains critical in guiding savings and investment decisions by households and businesses.
Speaking on rebuilding the economy through state government, the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, expresses readiness to partner the newly approved Infrastructure Company of Nigeria, Infraco, to facilitate development of mega infrastructures such as rails and ports.
We still have five other rail projects that are in the burner that we're going to be shipping out. So the Infraco will form a very, very, very good line for us to see how we need to develop those infrastructure. The fourth mainland bridge that we've talked about, we're not the ones who go to fund it. We're at the incubation stage where the final selections that started with about 32 bidders, we're now about 6 of them, will be going to final lines of pre-qualification. And we believe that most of the investments or most of the funding could also be very local at the end of the day.
Chairman of the Presidential Advisory Council, Dr. Doyin Salami, wants government spending to be more efficient and insecurity tackled to attract substantial capital into the country.
The Nigerian environment must be secure. And I don't just mean territorial security. I mean security of transactions. I mean the respect for various laws. I mean a diminution of what I can only describe as ungoverned spaces where non-state actors dominate and determine outcomes. Beyond that, we've got to understand a second major imperative. Nigeria is a capital deficient country and must position herself to effectively and successfully compete for capital that's going around.
Analysts continue to project the pattern of Nigeria's economic recovery in 2021, while some forecast a slow recovery pattern on the back of possible second wave of COVID-19 pandemic and distorting economic landscape in advanced economies. Others are positive that with the discovery and deployment of vaccines worldwide, 2021 will be a year of massive global recovery and Nigeria will not be left out.
To keep the conversation going, we also asked for the thought of an economic and current affairs commentator, Dr. Boniface Chizie. In a virtual interview earlier in the week, he spoke to us on inflation, Nigeria's gross domestic product, as well as how to firm up the recent economic rebound. Dr. Boniface Chizie, many thanks for joining us on the program today, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, now the current trend of inflation in Nigeria has been described as cost push and not demand pull. Could you quickly differentiate between the two for us?
Well, okay, and when you have a demand and you say it's a cost push, what essentially that says is that the inflation cost increases in price is because of the increases in the cost of your production. So the items you use for your production, if their prices go up, then as a business person, you still intent on keeping your profit margin. And so you want to see if you can pass it on to the consumer. And so you now have price increases that are due because cost of factors of production, have increased, over the period. So you have increases in the tariff, increases in fuel price, foreign exchange has cost you more to procure and so on. And then you are trying to pass this on, to the consumer. So when you have such price increases, then you say it is due to increase in the cost of factor of production. On the other hand, it's a demand pool when there's demand is in excess of supply. A typical example is foreign exchange in our environment. The demand for foreign exchange in our environment is insatiable, and so the supply is not there. Supply is almost inelastic from one source, is from central bank, and so that the supply is limited. So you find that once that's the depreciation in the value of exchange rate, more often than not, it's due to excessive demand. So you have demand, excessive demand, and most often the conventional division of inflation is when you look at demand vis-a-vis supply. So you have the supply, you have demand is increasing, then you have inflation. So that's essentially is the difference between demand cost push and the demand inflation.
The National Bureau of Statistics just reported that GDP growth in the country rose to 0.11%. The CBN governor has described it as still fragile. So what can be done to consolidate on the gains that have been recorded?
Well, I think it's right to say that it's fragile because if you have celebrate the fact that we now technically exit the recession, but a growth rate of 0.11, when you have your population growth rate of an average, estimated average of 2.6%, then you can see that at that rate, you cannot have any development. You just have national growth. It's not going to impact at the level of quality of livelihood of your citizens. And so what to do? You need to, give a boost to productivity in the economy. So that's the challenge. So how do you bring productivity? We're just trying to exit the pandemic. We had the pandemic, and then we're just making sure that we can start sectors of the economy. For a long time, the parts of the economy ran to a standstill. And so what we're battling with now is to see if we can, start get them going and so on and so forth. So we're still a long way from where we begin to see the sort of growth we would want to see. But as they say, a journey of 1,000 miles, start with one first step. So I think we're taking initial important steps in the right direction. And I expect that we build on this. Now, we're now getting the vaccine. The vaccine is having impact on the pandemic. And I'm hoping that the impact will see, for instance, in the US. And we'll also be able to see it here so that we'll quickly see if we can, get this pandemic behind us and get back to, the normal business of managing the economy the way we are used to. And so once we begin to do that, then we can begin to now focus on growth. But then until you have growth, you'll not be able to tackle unemployment, you'll not be able to solve inflation, you'll not be able to solve misery indexing, in the land, you'll not be able to, even the insurrections, that we are seeing. A part of it also will be solved if you can jumpstart and facilitate growth. So that's the challenge, confronting us as a nation.
So my final question now, Doctor. So the Central Bank of Nigeria, especially during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic last year, introduced more economic interventions. How do you see the economic intervention impacting on the lives of Nigerians?
Well, I think that we have to give kudos to the Central Bank. I think that, the government did produce its economic recovery and sustainability plan. And CBN also produced its own package, and the CBN package, if you take, for instance, the Infraco company that was just recently approved, that we're now going to launch, that was part of a Central Bank plan. And so the Central Bank has done quite a bit, in getting us where we are now. If we look at the fact that we've not exited in the recession the way we did, even if it's notionally, technically, CBN, has played a major role in making this possible. And the central bank is also going on. They're not just stopping in palliatives and so on that they've issued, funds they've issued. They've used funds for various businesses. So you have small and medium scale businesses, you have funds for agriculture, have funds for various businesses, you have funds for powers and so on. And you say to yourself, that central bank, it's only in this environment you have central bank playing the sort of role that they are playing. They don't play it elsewhere outside Nigeria. But of course, again, we must quickly say that this is part of the central bank in Nigeria has been assigned a development mandate. So they are living to keep fidelity to this mandate. But the fiscal authorities, what have they really added in the self-management? Okay, you can say it's a fiscal and monetary authority, but I think in terms of spending, sort of injecting money into the system, and some terms of the things that we've done, that central bank has, it's not human's job. So the governor is there. He's passionate. He knows it. In fact, he lives and breathes this economy. It's like it's a personal baby. So he sees a business and he thinks that the business is doing well for the economy, it's going to impact us positively. He goes out of his way, to ensure that the business is supported. So I think that I'm sure that at the end of the day, history is going to have a favorable chapter. The central bank after this pandemic.
All right, Dr. Boniface Chize, many thanks for coming on the program. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
That's all from the CBN this week. You can always log on to the website www.cbn.gov.ng to find out more about the people-oriented initiatives of the Apex Bank. Call the CBN Contact Center using the phone line below for your valid complaints. Remember, local call rates may apply. Send in your comments and contributions to the email address fromthecbn@gmail.com and follow us on the social media for updates and uploaded episodes of the program. I am William Isidada. Keep on staying safe. Bye for now.